I think just the feeling we got walking through the school. Like, there's no bells and whistles, there's no computer lab, but you can feel the energy and you can feel the joy in the kids in the classrooms. And my husband and I both looked at each other and were like, oh my gosh, this is it. Like, we found our school.
Our kids were actually attending a public school, elementary school, down the street. We were looking for a more challenging environment for our kids. We didn't know what we were getting into. But literally within the first semester, we were all in.
As a public school educator for so many years, I was a never charter person. And I realize now in hindsight that I had been fed a lot of propaganda about charter schools. And when I started actually researching it, I learned, oh, it's really what is best for the education of each child.
At Great Hearts, we love to form the hearts and minds of students through the pursuit of the true, the good, and the beautiful. Our students are going to read great books, from Frog and Toad in first grade to the Brothers Karamazov in their senior year.
We took a look at that book list and we were sold.
One thing that we had found in our public school experience is that we were constantly monitoring what our children were being assigned to read, and we really loved the book list at Great Hearts because we knew we were confident that they were being presented with material that was incredibly rich and would really trigger their imaginations and their love of learning.
The distinction of Great Hearts, as we saw it at that point, was that it would have the diversity that private schools didn't have, but then also an excellence in curriculum that typically one would not find in a public school.
Our aim is to raise up virtuous young men and women who have a sense of purpose and vision, who are endowed with a sense of destiny that's been shaped by the great conversation, and who are equipped to live it out.
Great Hearts does an incredible job of uniting and marrying the intellectual formation with moral formation.
One of the great things about Great Hearts is that it appeals, instead of what is most base in our human nature, it appeals to what is the highest.
For me, education isn't just about what you're learning in class, that academic-wise. It's the building and the forming of character.
They're going to study and pursue those ennobling and lasting things with teachers who are intellectually, morally, and aesthetically alive.
The teachers at Great Hearts set an exemplary example. They go above and beyond in also demonstrating these virtues in their own lives.
There's so much to love about Great Hearts, but it all starts in the classroom. What I love about teaching is being in the classroom with my students.
This is a classical education, and for generations it's only been available at elite private schools. But we seek to make it available to all families, at least to all families who are willing to go on the journey with us.
One thing that we were pleasantly surprised with, actually, when we got to Great Hearts, is that not only is the curriculum itself unifying in that it all coheres, but it also is unifying in that it brings diverse students from different socioeconomic backgrounds, different cultures, and it unifies them through the pursuit of truth and through the reading of excellent material.
All the riches of the liberal arts, those which set their soul free, these are their rightful inheritance, their intellectual inheritance, and we endeavor to give them their initial possession of it.
I was initially drawn to STEM type schools because I thought I love science and technology and engineering and math. What I found out is that most of those schools really aren't STEM. What they are is giving kids a screen, which I don't think the science shows help them learn very well. But what Great Hearts is they emphasize science and engineering and math. They give them all those things that actually will make them technology workers. So I think Great Hearts, even though it doesn't advertise itself as STEM, is truly one of the deepest STEM schools that you could go to.
We're going to an elite private school without the $30,000 price tag.
As a professor in a liberal arts college, I had met a few of the graduates from the Arizona schools that came, and they were impressive.
Great Hearts was the best decision we could make for our students' education.
As we continue to grow, we invite you to join us for the journey.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our virtual information session. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Charlotte Garthune, and I'm honored to be part of the launch team for the newest Great Hearts campus in North Texas, Great Hearts Prairie View. Our new school will be opening to kinder through third grade next year in Keller. We're excited to bring a classical education grounded in the liberal arts to more families in the Metroplex. On the call with us tonight, we have our founding headmaster, Mr. Ryan Mullins, and a special guest, the Executive Director of Great Hearts North Texas, Mr. David Denton. Mr. Denton will now share with you a brief history of our organization and tell you more about the philosophies and principles which guide our school. Mr. Denton.
Thank you, Charlotte, and welcome, everyone. We're so happy to have you here tonight with us, parents. This is the first in a very brief series of information sessions. We'll have 2 virtual sessions, and then we'll have an in-person session in early to mid November. But more details on that later. I am the Executive Director for Great Hearts here in North Texas, and I've been with Great Hearts for the better part of 13 years now. I first learned of Great Hearts through a friend and colleague who had moved to Arizona and signed on with them. And as soon as I looked into Great Hearts and did my homework, I, a 6th-generation Texan, did something I never thought I would do. We picked up stakes and we moved to Arizona, and we lived there for 9 years. And I worked with Great Hearts as a teacher, as a school leader, and then as an administrator in our home office. And after Great Hearts expanded into Texas, I was able to come back home just over 2 years ago. So that's my story. But I want to talk about Great Hearts and who we are and why it is, what is it that we do and why are we doing it? So maybe we can capture that all with just one question: why does Great Hearts exist? And it's interesting. There's in the Aristotelian sense, there are 4 ways to answer a why question. There's the final cause, towards what end, but then there's also the material cause, what, and the efficient cause, what was the process that brought it into being? What's the formal cause? What shape does it take itself? Great Hearts exists because 20 years ago, a small group of very committed parents and intellectuals and educators got together and started a charter school and grew that into many charter schools and with great success. But that's not the reason that motivates us. What actually drives us, the ends that we seek are to cultivate the hearts and minds of students through the pursuit of truth, goodness, and beauty. Our intent is to form intellectually and morally virtuous young men and women who are endowed with a sense of purpose and destiny, shaped by their encounters with the great minds of human history, and who are equipped to live out that vision for their life. To do this, we offer our students a rigorous classical liberal arts education that is grounded in the Western tradition. By the Western tradition, we mean the intellectual tradition that reaches back 3,000 years to find its initial seedlings in the civilizations that flourished in Jerusalem, Rome, and Athens. So the Greeks, the Romans, and the Hebrews, their intellectual traditions were the starting place. But a great conversation arose out of those cultures and has grown to span the entire world at this point. But certainly with for several hundreds of years in countries spanning at least half of the globe. And it's a liberal when you talk about the looking to the Greeks and the Romans, this is kind of the hallmark of a classical education. When we talk about a liberal arts education, as was said in the video, this is the study of those arts which set the soul free, which liberate the soul of man. And these are subjects that all of us have taken when we were in school: math and science, history, literature, art, music, physical exercise. And yet, over time, particularly in the American educational tradition, the approach to the liberal arts has suffered. It's become more anemic in some places. It's become very utilitarian in other places. Utilitarian in the sense of being oriented towards performance on state tests or SATs, towards the sort of the assembly line mentality of life, where you go to high school so you can go to college, you go to college, you can get a degree, you get a degree so that you can get a job and make money. I'm not here to undo that system, to undo that schema, but we do, it is very important to point out that is not why we exist. Our students do very well in the world, and they are flourishing in college and so on. But that's not the ultimate end that we're aiming for. The ultimate end for us is the formation of the soul, intellectually, morally. So all of our students are going to study Latin. All of our students will memorize poetry. All of our students will learn to sing, to paint, to draw. They will all take calculus and physics in our single track curriculum. And this is an elite education. For generations, it's only been available to families who had sufficient means to buy private or to send their students to private schools. But it's our privilege at Great Hearts to offer this education to anyone and everyone who will sign on and join us. And that's a very quick look and a high level at who Great Hearts is and what it is that we're about. So Charlotte, I think it's back to you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Denton. I'd like to invite our new headmaster, Mr. Ryan Mullins. He's going to share more about the new campus in Keller.
Great. Thank you, Charlotte. I really appreciate it. Parents, I'm honored to be here with you tonight. My name is Ryan Mullins. I'm the headmaster of Prairie View Great Hearts. I have actually spent the last 20 years as a headmaster of a private classical school in Oklahoma. And I've been with Great Hearts now for about 3 months. And the most common question I get is, what brought you from Oklahoma to Texas? And also, what brought me from a private academy to a public charter school? And Mr. Denton actually alluded to it. It was a question that I had wrestled with for a number of years at a private academy. And the question is how do we educate citizens in a republic? And the classical liberal arts answers that question with, it's an education that's rich and robust and offers liberty and freedom, and it's civic minded. And so what brought me to a public charter school is this idea of the richest education, the most robust education, the formation of a human soul, and it being open to anybody willing to participate in that journey with us. I'm honored that you're here, that you're spending your time with us. And I have to take a couple of seconds real quick to thank the team. There's a lot of people behind the scenes in marketing and operations that are here help making this work. And so I really appreciate their work. Mr. Denton had mentioned, this is the first of a series of 3 informational sessions. The first 2 will be virtual, and the last one will be in person, and it'll be around the first week to mid-November. Stay tuned to announcements on where that's going to be and what time. This series is purposely designed to be very broad with the first one and get a little bit more specific as we go. So at the end of the session, if you're kind of thinking, well, I'd like to ask a lot of deeper questions, we purposely designed these for the first session tonight to simply unfold and unveil to the public Great Hearts Prairie View. And then in the next session, which will be October 26th, also at 6 o'clock, and it'll be virtual, that session will get a little more in-depth into what the classical liberal arts means, what does it look like, and a little more in-depth on the curriculum and the program of Great Hearts Prairie View. And then on the last session, we will go line by line dig into the curriculum, dig into the program a little more in depth. That'll be a longer session, and it'll be in person, which will allow us the intimate ability to converse back and forth and ask a lot of more very detailed questions. So this first session will be very broad, a very large, kind of a 3,000 above the earth view of Great Hearts Prairie View, designed to be that way on purpose, to simply basically be a launching virtual session of Great Hearts Prairie View. So I'm very, very excited to be here, and we want you to come back make sure you come back for the October 26th one and the in-person session as well. Couple things real quick that I'm going to address. I'm simply going to, my agenda for tonight is to unveil the school, mention a couple things about it, talk a little bit about what a charter school actually is, talk a little bit about the basics of our program, and then Charlotte will come back and talk a little bit about what does enrollment look like and things like that. We'll finish up for a little bit of light Q&A if it's appropriate as well. Couple things real quick. So Great Hearts Prairie View, this will be the 4th classical academy that Great Hearts opens here in North Texas. Will not be the last, but this is the 4th one. We will grow, expand a grade level each year that we're open. And so we will eventually grow into a full K through 12 classical liberal arts academy. Our mascot will be the Hawks, and our colors will be black and gold. And we felt like that the black and gold color scheme and the Hawks just simply is appropriate. It references northern Fort Worth and its place and history as the frontier of the West. And so we felt like those were appropriate relative to our mascots and our colors. We're very excited about that. A lot of times we get questions about, okay, what is a charter school anyway? Some people believe it's a private academy. And so a charter school is a tuition-free public education. I say it's a public school of choice. It's authorized and governed by the state of Texas. Another way I say also is it's simply the state representatives being responsive to the voice of the citizens, which is to have different options available for a public education. Now, a charter school would not be similar to an ISD school. To be a charter school, you have to offer something, whether it's curricular, whether it's a teaching approach, whether it's a program approach. To be a charter school, you have to offer something different than the ISD. And of course, Great Hearts does that, being a classical liberal arts academy. Our site, Great Hearts, this Great Hearts Prairie View launch will be a little bit different. We are actually launching at a temporary site first. And so the temporary site will actually be located in Keller. And our permanent site will be located about 5 miles west, further along there on I-35. You can see on the slide there, it's at 1750 Roof Snow Drive, and that is a temporary location. Okay. Now then, with the temporary location, we are launching our school as a K through 3 school, which is a little bit different. And so being a K through 3 school and having limited space in our temporary site, enrollment will be very limited. We will offer about 2 sections per grade. And so what that comes out to basically is a total enrollment for the first year, the total enrollment at about 200 to 210 or so students. You can see on the slide there, we're going to offer 2 sections for kindergarten, 2 sections for first grade, and 1 section, or 2 sections for second grade, 1 section for third grade. Typical of a Great Hearts school, we will have 2 teachers per class. And we'll talk more about that in the coming sessions as well on the dynamics. What does that look like? What does that afford our students? What does that afford our families as well? And how does that affect the classroom? Now then, our second year, we'll move into our permanent location. Again, our permanent location will actually be about 5 miles west on 287 I-35, and there more information will come coming on that as well. Our year 2, we will actually expand our curricular offerings. We'll expand our enrollment options. We'll also expand the number of sections per class. Again, the goal being a full K through 12 academic experience. Before I go ahead and turn it back over to Charlotte, a couple things. Make sure that you continually stay up to speed on our Facebook page, stay up to speed on the interest list. By joining the interest list, it assures that you have, we continually have your contact information, so we can go ahead and continue to keep you updated on different seminars that might be coming up, information sessions, as we open up enrollment coming up here in November, that we'll be able to send you those links. We'll also begin to have some articles and relevant information to Great Hearts Prairie View. And so we'll be able to just shoot that right to you. So make sure that you join that interest list. You can also stay up to speed again on our Facebook page, as well as our website, greatheartsprairieview.org. And so with that, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Charlotte, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Headmaster Mullins. All right, folks, if you have any questions regarding the enrollment process, please type those questions into the chat box and we will get to them during our Q&A session. So enrollment begins with our open enrollment period. It starts on November 8th and ends on December 10th. During this 1 month period, we want to encourage all interested families to apply for a seat at Great Hearts Prairie View. Anyone who applies during this open enrollment period will have their child's application entered into our lottery process. We'll be enrolling grades kinder through 3rd grade, and as the headmaster mentioned, we'll add a grade each year until we're a full K through 12 campus. Applying during this open enrollment period is your best chance of being offered a seat at Great Hearts Prairie View. Our lottery will take place on January 12th, 2022, and we expect families to receive their offer in the days that follow. Much more information regarding the registration process will come once your family has accepted your offer. Please visit our website, www.greatheartsprairieview.org, and encourage your friends and family to apply. Don't forget to join us again on October 26th for our next Facebook Live session, and stay tuned for more information about the in-person parent information session in November. I'd like to invite Mr. Mullins and Mr. Denton back on. We are happy to answer any questions you have about our new school and look forward to engaging with you.
Yeah. Thank you, Charlotte. The one thing, if I could, just real quick, it made just a point of clarification that the school will be open in K3, but in the second year, where their permanent home it'll be built and ready. We'll move into it in the second year. It won't just go K4. We'll expand to more grades. To a larger number of grades beyond K4. Details on that also to follow.
Thank you. Headmaster, we've had a question. Is this a Monday through Friday school? If you could come on and just kind of share with us what to expect in the daily schedule or weekly schedule for the school.
Okay. Yes, we do have Monday through Friday, but most of our Fridays are half days. And so basically the way the process works is if there's not a break through the week, then Fridays are half days for us. I'm not sure exactly how many throughout the year that comes to, but I believe it'll be a couple per month where students get out Fridays at 1:30. So Fridays will be half day for us most of the time.
Great, thank you. A parent has asked, what is the selection criteria for enrollment? Mr. Denton, could you share with us a little bit about where our students come from and what that enrollment process looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is no enrollment criteria other than the application is filled out and completed, that you get all of your paperwork turned in. But that's it. There's no tuition. There are no entrance exams. And that we are available to anyone who will sign up for us. I do believe that there are, and Charlotte, you'll be able to speak to this in greater detail, but there are some zip code restrictions. You couldn't attend this school if you lived, in Abilene, and there's going to be some zip codes at the, over 25 or 30. I don't know how many miles away. that are not included that wouldn't be eligible. But that's the only restriction that families are going to run into.
Right, exactly. And as a charter school, we are blessed to have a really broad geographic boundary. It allows us to accept families from all over. Mr. Denton is correct that the Keller school will have a boundary at some point, but if you live in the general area, then you would qualify to apply for that campus.
That's right, and it's probably in excess of 25 or 30 miles. Actually, it's a pretty generous boundary that we get.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are just so excited to launch Great Hearts Prairie View. Mr. Denton, do you have anything you'd like to share, or Headmaster?
No, thank you. It's Ryan. You feel free to chime in as you desire to. It's been my privilege to be a part of many school openings. Every school opening is special. Every school opening is the birth of a new community that's going to be forged in the pursuit of truth, goodness, and beauty through interaction with the great texts, the great minds of Western civilization. It's for some folks, it will be a rediscovery. For others, it will be completely new discoveries. It'll be names and ideas that you've never encountered before. But it is with great anticipation and eager excitement that we are opening another school in North Tarrant County.
Yeah, I would just say that I'm just really humbled and honored to be able to serve our families. Love for families is why I do what I do. And so being able to give families access to this type of education that historically over the last 80 to 100 years has only been available for families that were able to pay $10, $15, $20, $25, $30,000. And so I'm extremely blessed and honored to be a part of the North Texas community. Very excited for what lies ahead. Very excited to work with these families. So
thank you, Charlotte. And thank you, Headmaster Mullins.